So today we're going to be taking a look at the VCT Masters Copenhagen final 4 teams as we try and predict what will happen and who is going to win this tournament overall. So we're going to take a look at each of the players on a team and then take a look at kind of how they're doing on each map as well, and then talk about the games that they will be playing. So let's start off with FPX, and very quickly we'll just take a look at the player stats. You can see that Jing and Forsaken are doing extremely well in terms of ACS, as you might expect. Benkai and MyFreak's cast is extremely high as well. MyFreak's clutch percentage is just out of this world at 46%. And you can see that Jing, I mean, this is extremely impressive as well. His first kills to first death, considering he's not playing any chamber, this is extremely impressive. And even Devi, who is playing a bit of chamber, but, you know, a lot of KO and Fade, also very impressive in terms of his first kills to first deaths as well. When it comes to the maps that FPX play, I do think they have a bit of a polarized map pool where they have some extremely good maps and some maps where I'm either unsure or, you know, I haven't seen them be like super dominant on a map, right? And a big reason for that is because they've only actually played 3 of the maps of the 7 so far at Copenhagen, obviously winning 2-0 results so far and coming through kind of the upper bracket there. So you can see obviously their bind is extremely good, right? Their Ascent, Fracture and Haven, I think that have all been proven over time to be, you know, good at an international level. The questions I have are about Breeze, Icebox, and Split. And so here you can see this is across VCT Stage 2, and the brackets are just at Copenhagen, right? So far at Copenhagen, they banned Icebox and Split. They picked Bind and Fracture, you know, the maps that they like to pick. And this is their overall win record and loss record across Stage 2. And again, the brackets is at Copenhagen here. So you can see they've only played 3 maps, and the round score is just at Copenhagen. So again, this is going to be a big deal, I think, particularly when we take a look at how it's going to go for the grand final if they make it there, because the winners from the upper final, the upper bracket at the grand final, they get to ban 2 maps. The opponent coming through the lower bracket doesn't get a map ban, and I think that will be a big difference for FPX. That if they go through the uppers, I think they have a great chance to win the whole tournament. If they manage to get through the grand final through the lowers, I'm not quite sure that they will be able to win because, you know, their opponents can just ban, bind, and fracture, and then their map pool doesn't look quite as good. Taking a look at Optic, obviously, Ye got off to a slow start, but now you can see it's starting to pick it back up and rounding back into form. Marv just having an insane tournament again, as I'm sure you're all aware. Crashy's has been absolutely clutch as well. Ye is still owning in terms of first kills, first deaths. It kind of looks like probably what you would expect from Optic. Now, in terms of their maps, I think that they're kind of the opposite of FPX, where I'm not sure they have a truly dominant map. You know, we might have said Fracture before, but then obviously they got destroyed by DRX on that map. And so I'm kind of interested to see what exactly will happen here, because they have a more balanced map pool than I think all of the other teams in the stage. And that can kind of be shown by their win-loss record across Stage 2. You can see that Breeze is the only map that they haven't actually lost in this stage, right? So they don't really have a map that they can heavily lean on, I think, and be, you know, utterly convincing all of the time. I know some of you might be saying Breeze, but I want to see more from them on Breeze, to be honest. I think, you know, they had a couple games where it was a surprise pick, and then they realized that DRX couldn't defend A site to save their lives, and, you know, just kept going A. They planted on A like 11 out of 12 times in that map. So, you know, I still want to see a bit more from them on Breeze overall. Yeah, I think they have a much more balanced map pool, which is kind of the opposite to FPX, where I think if they come through the lowers, I think they definitely still can win because of their balanced map pool. So when talking about this game, FPX versus Optic, I think a crucial question will be, how are Optic gonna play against FPX? Because they have a choice, basically. Do they want to try and control FPX, or do they want to try and match them at their own pace? I think the problem is, as we see Fnatic here try and match FPX at their own pace and get destroyed, that this will happen if they do choose to try and, you know, play FPX at their own game, in a sense. And I think that this has been kind of a problem that you know, pretty much every NA and EMEA team that's played FPX so far has come up against this curse, where they think, oh, we're just better than this team, we can just do what they do but do it better, and then they end up losing. And we've seen so far that FPX are 0-2 against other Asian teams in international tournaments this year, and 4-0 against EMEA and NA teams, which kind of bodes well, because of course there are no other Asian teams in the tournament left for FPX. So this, I think, will be a big question for Optic, is how do they choose to play against FPX? And the big question for me regarding FPX will be about Ye. Ye, I think, is the big X factor, and he's been steadily improving as this tournament has gone on. And I think if he continues to improve and he has a game where he just, you know, dominates the game, then the Optic will win, obviously, if Ye just dominates the game. But if FPX can find ways of shutting down Ye, much like Guild did, you know, I think that everyone was like, oh, Ye was quiet against Guild, but actually a lot of the credit needed to go to Guild instead. They found him in these positions. Like in this round here on Icebox, they're gonna spot him out, and they did this a lot. You know, they saw him in those positions a lot, and they dealt with him, and they pushed him off these initial aggressive angles, and that's why, a big reason why he had a bad game, because Guild had a very good plan. Look at how patient they are in terms of, you know, not over peeking, waiting for the drone. They push him off without getting a kill. This was something that Guild were doing extremely well, and it'll be interesting to see how do FakerX, you know, try and deal with that same thing, right? Obviously, it'll be quite different in terms of the pace than Guild did, but how will they go about trying to shut down Ye? So overall here, you could see I've got a couple points. One, I think the map veto could be quite interesting, that it could go quite a few different ways. And I do think that Optic will probably believe in themselves, that they can just play how they normally play and beat FakerX at their own game, which I think might cost them. And so I've gone for a FakerX win, a close 2-1 because of that. And, you know, Ye and Marv don't backing down from any fights. And I think that things like that, you know, and that kind of general mindset that if Ye and Marv don't backing down from fights, then the rest of the team can't back down from fights either, that might benefit FakerX. Okay, let's move on to our other two teams. First off, Fnatic here, and you can see, well, Mystic is having a bit of a rough tournament, and Durka has steadily declined. He had one of the all-time games against FPX in their first meeting, in the first game of the playoffs, but since then has kind of come back down to earth and had, you know, relatively, you know, non-Durka games, I would say. He's been taking fights that maybe he shouldn't always take. It hasn't looked quite as good, and we'll have to see how that goes. The opposite, though, is true for Alfia, who started off very slow against FPX, but has slowly been getting better and better as the tournament has gone on, and you can see in his numbers now, they are extremely good for some of the agents that he is playing. So we'll have to see how this goes. A big thing for me is, like, you know, you look at the first kill, first death, you know, outside of Durka, everyone else is actually struggling quite a lot on this, and this will be a big point, I think, for Fnatic as this tournament continues, if they want to win this tournament. And again, Fnatic, I think, are kind of like FakerX in that they have a more, you know, extreme map pool where obviously their Icebox and Bind are extremely good. Their Fracture is also pretty good as well. The problem is, you know, on some of the other maps, you know, they can't seem to win on Ascent. They're always close, but can never seem to actually win a game on Ascent. Breeze, obviously, we have no idea because they permaban Breeze, and that also will be a big question going forward as well, as I will talk about a bit later. But you can see, you know, they love playing Icebox, they like playing Fracture, you know, they like playing Bind as well. Their records are pretty good on most maps because, of course, they dominated in EMEA outside of Ascent, which is where they have struggled, and so we'll have to see if they struggle there again. When it comes to the FPX players, obviously with Sogetsu back now into the fold, one thing that I think has gone unnoticed somewhat is that Artis is popping off. He actually has the highest ACS in the entire tournament, and his first kill, first death, as you can see as well, is extremely high. He has a genuine claim to being the MVP of this tournament, but I don't think that most people would be talking about that. But he is playing at that level, and I think if he continues to play at that level, and this could be a bit of an Artis versus Durka, who, you know, is kind of the better chamber in this game, I wouldn't be surprised if that is kind of what the outcome of this game was. Angel obviously is having a rough tournament, but it started out worse and he has kind of steadily improved, you know, as the tournament has gone on. You know, obviously with the introduction of Sogetsu, I think that helps as well, that, you know, there is that more team chemistry there. So we'll have to see, you know, is this the time that FPX can win this game? And when it comes to FPX's maps, there is something quite interesting there, that normally, as you can see, they have liked to ban Bind here. Across stage 2, that was kind of the map that they were banning. The thing is, though, at Copenhagen, they've played Bind twice, and they've won it both times. So have they just picked up a map all of a sudden that they thought they were bad at, but actually it turns out they are pretty good at? Now, I do think FPX across the whole, you know, they have struggled on certain maps. Obviously, they got dominated by Guild on Breeze, so that maybe is a bit worse than we initially thought as well. So we'll have to see how this really goes for FPX. And so that brings me to the first point that I want to make about this game, and that is Breeze. What on earth is going to happen with Breeze in this game? Because remember, if Fnatic make it to the grand final, they will be coming through the lower bracket, which means that they will not have a ban in that series, which means they will be forced to play Breeze. So in these 3 days that, you know, they've been working on stuff and whatnot, I do wonder, have they been practicing Breeze? Because here's the thing as well, FPX got destroyed by Guild on Breeze. So do they want to play Breeze either? You know, there is a big kind of thing going on now about what will Breeze be in this series. And it could honestly be a ton of different things. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Fnatic do. Do they decide to, you know, add Breeze into their pool and maybe try and surprise FPX and ban Ascent instead, which is a map where FPX have been able to beat Fnatic even when Fnatic were at their best? You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, and then it becomes a game of chicken of, you know, do we want to play Breeze? Does either side want to play Breeze? And then the question for FPX will be, can they finally overcome the specter that is Fnatic? You know, the demon that they just have not been able to beat. I think they've played them, what, 4 times so far? This stage, just in this stage, they've played them 4 times, and they've lost all 4 times. This will be the 5th meeting between these teams in this stage. Can they finally beat Fnatic? It'll be an interesting question. I would say that this is the first time, I think, that FPX maybe have form going on their side, that they perhaps are in better form than Fnatic right now. You know, they beat DRX pretty convincing, whereas Fnatic, you know, really scraped through against Leviathan. You know, maybe this is their final time to, you know, finally overcome Fnatic and finally beat them. That this could be their real chance. And so when talking about this game, of course, these teams do know each other extremely well. They've played against each other, as I said, 4 times. And I think that a big thing for this game will be the chamber duel between Durka and Artis. If Artis goes crazy, like he has been kind of for the rest of the tournament, you know, I think FPX have a real shot at winning. If Durka, though, I mean, if Durka plays like he did in the first game against FPX, they don't have a chance. Fnatic will win, I'm sure of it. But if he even plays it like, you know, just kind of how Durka's been playing across the entirety of Stage 2, again, I would favor Fnatic. But if he plays like he has been in the last couple of games, I do think that FPX could take this game. And so that just leaves one final question to answer when it comes to VCT Masters Copenhagen. And who's going to win the whole thing? Well, I'm not going to answer it myself. I'm just going to let these clips do the talking.
Try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing. Won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless.